ago when Dr. Emoto was showing his work, and it showed even the very skeptical people a good amount of evidence that just a word, love, can change the molecular structure of water as opposed to the word hate. Completely different. And so we could start to at least think that, oh, the thoughts in my mind really matter. What I speak matters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quest for Peace. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Hector Perez. Actually, I just met him not more than about a week ago. It was an amazing meeting. He walked into my center, the Infinite Love Wellness Center here in McAllen. That's in Texas. And he said, hey, do you guys have the EE system here? I'm so excited about this system. And that's how we got started talking. And then as we got to know each other, I got to find out that he's a nutrition supplement formulator. He's a clinical nutritionist. He's a master in traditional Chinese medicine and a lot more. But before we go any further, I'm going to let you, Hector, first of all, welcome. And I would like to have you tell everyone all about yourself.
Thank you, Saju. Thank you for having me. So yes, I have a background in traditional Chinese medicine, and I was in practice for about 8 or 9 years using clinical nutrition, herbal medicine, and acupuncture to help my patients. And after being in practice for about 8 years, I decided to go to the nutritional supplement route. I felt like I could help more people by teaching practitioners how to use supplements more effectively for their patients. And so I first started with the company Premier Research Labs. And with them, I led seminars on the West Coast to teach a system called Quantum Reflex Analysis, which is an applied kinesiology system or muscle testing that is over acupuncture points to figure out the body's imbalances, and more importantly, what supplements and detox programs are going to best balance these patients out.
Well, that pharmacy, I know, I'm sorry, it's not a pharmacy, it's a supplement place,
The
right?
company.
They sell supplements themselves. And I've heard, I know I take some supplements from that company, and I know that they are very clean and very good for you supplements. So you worked there, or you studied there. Clarify a bit about that,
Yes.
please.
So as soon as I graduated from my master's program, I felt like I didn't have enough tools in my toolbox to be confident as a practitioner. So I sought out more education, and that's when I became a clinical nutritionist. And I was mentoring under the CEO and founder of the company, Dr. Bob Marshall. And so I have a lot of experience with him in his practice. And then eventually I became a mentor for other practitioners, teaching them the system called Quantum Reflex Analysis. And then I was eventually hired by the company to teach these seminars on the West Coast on how to use these supplements more effectively with quantum reflex analysis.
What exactly is quantum reflex analysis?
It is a fancy term basically saying that we're using the body's biofeedback mechanism using muscle testing or applied kinesiology over acupuncture points on the body that reflects to different organ and glands on the system to figure out what is weak in the system, and with those weak points that we're finding, what kinds of supplements, and even more importantly, what dosage is going to help get this person back into balance. So in other words, it eliminates a lot of the guesswork. If somebody needs something like a B vitamin complex, what dose would be the most appropriate for right now? And so we don't have to do a lot of the guesswork that is oftentimes done in typical practice.
So I know with supplements, a lot of people think, well, it's all good for you and you take them all, right? It's okay, B vitamin, iron, and, just take a multivitamin. Is that not the case? And with supplements, do you have to know how much and which one to take, or are they all not good for you?
That's a really good question. And what we realized, we can't trust what the primary manufacturers tell us all the time. When it's all good for us, it's actually not true. First of all, we realized that synthetic vitamins do not do the body very well. We find that with muscle testing, that whole foods form supplements are always going to support the body better than synthetically derived or isolated vitamins. And secondly, some people will need B vitamins, for example, but maybe not right now. Maybe they can handle it for whatever's going on. We're all complicated beings, and we have to figure out the right balance for you right now to fully support your body.
If I came to you and I said I have a thyroid issue, how would you work with me?
I want to, first of all, look at your health history, see what you've been taking, and I want to encourage you to bring all your thyroid and other kinds of support that you have been taking to see, one, is this a good route that you are on? And if not, what can we do to best support your thyroid? And we know in not just in Chinese medicine, but other types of modalities, that we also have to look at other parts of the body when we're looking at the thyroid. We want to look at the kidney function, liver function, the adrenal glands, and the parathyroid, which is oftentimes an overlooked part of the body that might be contributing factor to the thyroid. In other words, if you're just treating the thyroid, but not looking at these other aspects of the body that support the thyroid function, we might not be helping you get better.
So it's important to know what the body needs and what the body can take, and take the clues from the body by doing kinesiology and what the work that you do.
Exactly.
What about, I know we discussed this about blood pressure, for instance. What are the different ways that we can help reduce if our blood pressure is too high?
If our blood pressure is too high, we really want to look at the kidney function and its connection with the heart. How is the body dealing with fluid metabolism and excreting from the lymphatic drainage? And so it's not just about the heart, it's about its connection with the kidneys and lymphatic drainage. We want to look at electrolyte levels, and we want to look at the body's ability to excrete efficiently. So sometimes we actually need to put the body on extra support for the kidneys, electrolytes being one of them, adaptogenic herbs being another. But we want to look at the body's ability to react to homeostasis with fluid metabolism as to why the pressure is too high in this person. And sometimes it's just a stress reaction mitigation. That's where adaptogenic herbs can come into play. But what I've seen that is very, very effective to just immediately drop the blood pressure is the way we are breathing. Oftentimes we are breathing too shallowly, creating a constriction of the blood vessels, meaning an increase in blood pressure. And if we change the way we breathe to widen the blood vessels, we can oftentimes lower the blood pressure, and sometimes that's all we need. So how do we do that? We focus on nose breathing, not mouth breathing, longer, slower, deeper breath. And what is really, really powerful, and it's research backed, it sounds way too simple, but it's not, is humming. Yeah, exactly what you did right there. What we oftentimes do when we're stressed without even thinking about it is we just sigh. The vibration that occurs in the nasal and paranasal cavities has a reaction in the body by spiking the nitric oxide production. And a nitric oxide is a chemical that allows for the dilation of the blood vessels. So if we increase our nitric oxide significantly by humming, and research shows 15 to 25 increase in nitric oxide production than regular nose breathing, we will widen the blood vessels to their max width. And that'll immediately show a lower in your blood pressure.
That's really interesting about that humming part of it, because it's such a simple thing to do. It's just breathe in and hum. And I know yogic traditions also talk about the same thing, that the humming is the best method of reducing stress in your body, and again, with blood pressure as well. But I'd like to know, what made you so excited about the EE system?
Well, I had been researching this kind of system. There's so many technologies out there. And when a former patient presented this to me and I went down the rabbit hole of the research, I was like, this is the ideal environment for a healing environment. And so I have been thinking of in my how to recreate a clinic, but not being so clinical. I didn't want to get back into practice in the traditional way that I was practicing, and I wanted more of a wellness center where people don't concentrate on pathology, but concentrate on their wellness and how to be their best selves. And we are so challenged with the environment these days with toxic electromagnetic fields all around us from cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, etc. We're inundated. Even though it's invisible, we are impacted in a very challenged way. And so the idea is, how can we not just block ourselves from this challenged environment, but how do we enhance our own electromagnetic field? And so I came across the EE system, and I thought this is a perfect way to get not just blocked from the toxic EMF system, but to enhance our own EMF system to be our best selves. So, in other words, the ideal environment to consume our nutritional supplements, the ideal environment to even get a massage or an acupuncture session or any healing modality will be much more impacting in the environment where, at the very least, our cell energy, the energy produced in our cells by our mitochondria, increases so much so that we have the potential to detox what we've been holding on to for so long. And in that environment, we have a much more healing capacity, a much more higher capacity to get back into balance, into homeostasis, and to be our best selves. And with this challenge environment, not just with the toxic EMF stress around us, but just the stressors all around us from what's going on right now in this day and age, we all could use a little bit of help. And I thought that this would be a great way to help the environment. Come have a reset. Come not just from that toxic EMF pollution from all around us, but come to a energetically enhancing environment so we can have the opportunity to be not just more healed, but really our best selves. Open up our hearts more, connect with people more, have a community like this where we can start to heal as a community together.
That's amazing. It was such a synchronicity because
Yes,
you came from Oregon
yes.
and you had just come back. Tell us that story. What happened?
So I was with a former client of mine in Oregon talking about the East system and figuring out how to do basically what you have created here in McAllen, but in Oregon. But it happened to be that I had to basically, or I wanted to move back to my hometown where I was born and raised. I had a death in the family. My father left us, and I decided that I needed to come be with my mother and, just help her heal, help me myself heal in this environment where I was born and raised. And so now that I'm here, I decided that I think this area is actually ready for this kind of technology. When I was in practice and I was doing similar work with energy systems in the body, I didn't think that this kind of technology was quite ready, or that this environment was ready for this technology back then. Now I believe it is. I believe that there's enough um, people interested in this kind of technology to help better themselves, and that this is the perfect time for a center that you've been creating. And so, just with me being back here, I feel like that this is the perfect setting, the perfect time and place for getting back to connecting to the community in a wellness way.
Perfect. And it was just amazing when you walked in and started telling me all these things. And we've just been actually, Infinite Love has been around for 13 years, but just January, we've just been like 4 months that we have brought in the EE system. And we are seeing unbelievable changes in people. Just today, I had another testimonial about how much being in the EE system has changed their lives. So I'm just thrilled, and probably we're going to be teaming up, right? Working together with your expertise and with our expertise, get together and, in fact, send out this I don't know, this energy of healing from anything, basically from your heart, your body, your soul, your mind, everything. It's such a beautiful, beautiful system. And I'm so grateful that you moved to McAllen and here you are. And it's just perfect timing for everything.
I believe so. There's a reason that I'm here, and it's becoming very evident, and this is where I need to be. And with my work as well with the nutritional supplement formulation, I'm incredibly excited to experiment with the EE system, not just with our bodies in being the environment, but using the power of the EE system to supercharge plant-based botanical medicine, having them be at their highest charge. And then in consuming them, it's going to have much more of an impact into the physiology of our bodies and to helping us be our best selves. As a matter of fact, Suja, I was remembering about, I think the first time that I was introduced to herbal medicine, which was a long time ago in college, a monk from India had come to teach a little bit of Ayurveda, and he was showing us a jar of one of my favorite formulas, Chyavanprash, and was talking about the best formulas of Chyavanprash are mixed when they are mixed in these big vats. They're mixing all the ingredients together. The person, usually a monk, is chanting mantras into the ingredients as they're mixing. And in looking back at that memory, I thought that was probably my first introduction, not just to herbal medicine, but also my first introduction to the idea that you can transmit a frequency into something else. And that something else, in this case, the Chyavanprash, can also enhance by that charge of that transmission of frequency into the end consumer. And so I always had this idea as a formulator that I want to recreate that with people infusing their own energy, chanting their mantras while they're touching these ingredients, making some of the best formulas by enhancing and infusing with their own high energy infusion. And so that's essentially a more of a digital, more of a high tech version of what the EE system is capable of doing for people's nutritional supplements. Yes, go ahead. So the idea that we have talked about is really just exciting me, of people being able to have the opportunity to bring their nutrition, to bring their formulas into the area, to have them charged, so that when they consume them, it won't be just like they bought them from the store or from Amazon, but it'll be enhanced, it'll be supercharged. And that is just such an exciting prospect for the wellness center.
Yes, that's amazing. I mean, this idea of our vibrations changing, we started hearing about it with the water, correct? We've had this, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, the Japanese
Dr. Emoto.
scientist. There we go. He did that with water. You go to the churches, there's water there, and all day long there's prayers, and so all that is infused and becomes holy water. Go to the temples, it's the same thing. If you go to India, there's food offered and there's water offered and there's a lot of chanting, and then everyone gets a little bit of it to consume. So you're really consuming high vibrational food and water. And this, I mean, now that you said it, it's exactly what it is. The vibrations in the room are so high that you can't help but be in a better mood when you leave from here. You can't help but, once your mind is in the system, you feel better, and then you go out and you perform better, you are a better person. And plus your supplements, you bring them in and you charge them up. And we do have over here, we put crystals, and everything that we bring in here, we put into the system to charge before we sell them. So it's amazing that, and I never crossed my mind that I could bring my supplements. I've never done it to come in here and bring my supplements to charge them, and we could do that for anybody who would want that.
Yes, exactly. And so we saw back in the day, what was it, 20 years ago, when Dr. Emoto was showing his work, and it showed even the very skeptical people a good amount of evidence that just a word, love, can change the molecular structure of water as opposed to the word hate. Completely different. And so we could start to at least think that, oh, the thoughts in my mind really matter. What I speak matters. Even the words that I have on my shirt will really matter in terms of my physiology, since we're mostly made up of water and energy. And so it is very important, not just what you surround yourself with, but what you surround yourself within as well. That's going to make a big difference in our health and our wellness and our happiness and our ability to be at peace.
Yeah. And that's what, when we're questing for peace, that's what we want, right? We need first to be at peace in our body, and then to be at peace in our soul, and then radiate that peace outside to the world, to for everyone else to receive that vibration of peace. And it all starts with us. We have to take care of us first before we can even try to help anyone else.
Exactly. The analogy of consuming the oxygen before you put that on for your kids, you really do have to help yourself first before you can help others. As a practitioner or as somebody who's trying to help people in general, I want to be as healthy as possible, so I have much as best capacity to be as effective, not just as a practitioner or wellness advisor, but also just being around people. I want to only exude the peace kind of frequency, the love frequency. And when I'm not there, I don't want to be around somebody until I'm there. So I will then go to your center and get back at peace, and then I'll be much better to be around people. And
That's perfect. So are you formulating anything new?
I am currently working on a little formula line that I call Limitless Flow. And that basically refers to flow state, the ability to get to an altered state of consciousness that allows for flow. As an athlete, that means peak performance. I'm an athlete as well. But as a public speaker, as just in general, to be your best self. So that flow state is basically a heightened sense of peak performance, essentially, vibrating at your highest level. And so it is using my research on the cannabinoid system. I worked for a couple companies with hemp, and in those companies, I figured out how to prime the body to receive hemp and other cannabinoid supplements most effectively. How to prime the receptor sites, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And so it has a lot to do with omega-3 fatty acids, electrolytes, so that the electricity is on in the body. In other words, there's more electrical conductivity going through our meridian system, and our ability to tap into the flow state or peak performance or achieve the runner's high as an athlete is right there. And so I discovered this as a need as I was going through a difficult time with grief. And I realized that as an athlete, as a mountain biker, the ability to tap into that flow state when I was on my bicycle was one of the most potent healing aspects of my body. And so I was chasing flow state. And so I essentially reverse engineered how to get into flow state every single time I was exercising, every single time I was dancing, every single time I was even meditating. And that led to these formulas to prime the body, to release these chemicals. One of the main ones is called anandamide. Ananda means bliss in Sanskrit. It's the bliss molecule. And that is the main chemical that allows us to tap into flow state. So in other words, if we have a lot of anandamide flowing through our bodies and we're able to receive them through the receptor sites, then our ability to tap into flow state is going to be much, much better.
Sounds very interesting and exciting. I'd love to collaborate with you on that, I'm sure. I would love to hear from you. What does a peaceful world look like to you?
Peaceful world looks like what I describe as an empathogenic world. And what I feel like if somebody asks me, like, what's my niche, is empathogenic wellness. And so that basically means heart-centered. Your heart is open. You're not blocked. Your ability to heal, your ability to receive love and give love is there fully. We're not closed off. And I think this is one of the most important types of medicine or wellness that we need right now, having gone through a pandemic, having gone through some difficult times. There's so many people that have closed off their hearts, that have been polarized with other people and communities. And it's time to now open that back up. And that to me is what peace is about, heart open. And our ability to connect with source is much higher. Our ability to connect with other people and share and receive love is at its highest as well. And that to me is what being at peace is about.
Such beautiful words. And it's true what you say. This is what we need. And this is why there's such an uptake in disease right now, because of all the pain. And people that I listen to sometimes, some of these people have been telling me that it's since the pandemic, I've gotten this and, I've had this disease or that disease. And it's all about fear. And so there's only two things in life, right? Love or fear, correct?
Exactly.
So if you're in the fear state, we need to switch and come into the love state.
Exactly.
It's hard to do, but
it's easier said than done. Of course, it's a practice. And I believe we're all here to practice that, to try to be on that frequency towards love. I think that is our purpose. That's my purpose, at least in my opinion. And yeah, I don't want to live in fear. I don't want my loved ones to live in fear. And I think we're designed to strive, at least, for living in the frequency of love.
Lovely, beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close today? Any message?
Well, with you, with the people that I've been inviting me subconsciously into my life, I feel like this is just such a perfect time opportunity for us to really enhance that message of love, of finding love in ourselves and with each other. And to me, that is our job. If you want to just put it simply, like, what is your purpose in life? To me, it's love. And I love that your space is called Infinite Love. It's just another one of those synchronicities that this is where I need to be. And so I'm so honored that you're considering me to be a part of your wellness team. And I think this is exactly where I need to be. So I'm very excited.
Thank you. That's amazing. I'm looking forward to our future together. Well, with that, I guess we will close today. Thank you very much. And let's see what the future brings.
Thank you, Saju.
Quest for Peace, a podcast about navigating outer chaos with inner harmony. Whether you're seeking solace in the midst of life's challenges or simply curious about the profound connection between inner and outer peace, the Quest for Peace podcast is your guide on this transformative expedition.